Welcome back to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. My name is Derek Brown. In today's video, we're going to talk about the top 10 combine surprises from all the athletic testing for the NFL draft. Before we get to this top 10 list of players, if you want a chance to win a 1-year premium subscription to Fantasy Pros, all you need to do is subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now, comment below in this video, and that is it. We'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. All right, first player on the docket here, number 10, Bucky Irving. Talented running back coming out of Oregon. The size questions were already there as he measured in 5'9", 192, but now we have speed questions to lop on top of that. Bucky Irving went out and ran a 4.5640, and that's just not going to get it done, people. 66th percentile 40-yard dash. You marry that with his other testing metrics, 2.2 RAS score. So we have questions about speed, we have questions about burst, and size. Right now on NFL Mock Draft Database, his projected draft spot is 82nd overall. Don't be surprised if we see that dip in the weeks to come. Bucky Irving did not do anything to help himself at the NFL Combine. Number 9, again, we're staying on the list of running backs that kind of fell short of expectations. Audric Estime, talented running back coming out of Notre Dame. I mean, look, the size is there, 5'11", 221, but the testing definitely was not. While he did perform well in the vertical and the broad, with over 90th percentile testing metrics, the 40-yard dash crushed him. Harkening back yesteryear vibes of Elijah Holyfield, poor Estime came in and ran a 4.72 40-yard dash. That is concerning, to say the least. For a player whose status right now, at least currently per NFL Mock Draft Database, going at 104th overall, the combine metrics did nothing to help him, and we're going to see his draft stock. It's going to be curious where it goes in the next few weeks, but Audric Estime, unfortunately, did nothing to help himself at the NFL Combine. Number 8, a guy that's been polarizing throughout the entire process, and if you look at his testing, it doesn't stop here. Keon Coleman. Look, Keon Coleman is going to still garner hype, and I'm not telling people to push back against that, because if you look at the testing, there's nothing that Keon Coleman did that will magically surprise me, although I know it will to a lot of other people. The fact that he went out and ran a 4.640 doesn't surprise me. The fact that he went out and tested well in the vertical and broad jumps doesn't surprise me. Now, looking at the 40 time, that is a surprise to some who pegged him as a low 4.5 guy, 4.4s, what have you. But if you look at the other testing metrics, the data tracking, miles per hour, things like that, it's not as concerning as it looks on the surface, but it did surprise people. You marry that with his analytical profile for a player that only surpassed 2.0 yards per route run in one season in college. While I'm not as surprised as some about his combine testing metrics, he is still going to be a polarizing player in this NFL draft process. Number 7, Adarius Mitchell, talented wide receiver coming out of Texas. He blew the roof off of the testing. And as a surprise, we're going to talk about big surprises. Look, we all thought Mitchell was athletic, but tell me that he is going to test with a 9.98 RAS score, almost perfect, because if you're not familiar with RAS, it is based out of 10. It's fantastic. For a player that was on the cusp of that first, second round draft capital, probably vaults himself into the early, or at least the late part of the first round conversation. So Buffalo Bills, looking at you, Kansas City Chiefs, everybody keeps mocking speedy wide receivers to them. Mitchell could fit the bill here. So really, he surprised a lot of people because we thought he was athletic. We didn't know he was this athletic. And if you marry that with, again, the analytical profile for a player that never garnered over an 18.1% target share and never surpassed 1.72 yards per route run in college, he's going to be polarizing. We cannot dispute the fact that he was a huge surprise coming out of the combine. Moving on to number 6. Now we get to switch over to one of my favorite players in the entire draft process. Number 6 is Marshon Lloyd. My guy, my man crush, went out and crushed the combine. Coming away with an 8.9 RAS, he ran a 4.46 40-yard dash at a rocked up 220 pounds. So Marshon Lloyd, welcome to the third round conversation of the NFL draft. I already put him there because that was where my grade was, looking at his analytical profile and the film score. For a player that, look, Marshon Lloyd didn't have to do anything else outside of just hit a ground rule double in the NFL Combine, but he surpassed those expectations for a lot of people that looked at him as a 4.5 guy as far as 40-yard dash speed, went out and ran a 4.4. You marry those with a player that over the last 2 years of college finished top 20 in yards to contact per attempt, breakaway run rate, and PFF elusive rating. Marshon Lloyd's draft stock is on the rise. Number 5 is Theo Johnson, who absolutely just eviscerated the combine and every amount of testing that he could possibly undergo in Indy. Theo Johnson walks away with a perfect 10.0 RAS score. Let's repeat that for a second, just so we can contextualize this. A 10.0 RAS score, people. He tested fantastic, ran a 4.5840. Jumped out the building with a 99th percentile vertical jump and a 96th percentile broad jump. Theo Johnson, and I know the counting sets aren't fantastic, but in 2022, top 30 in both PFF receiving grade and yards per route run. There's a lot to like about Theo Johnson. His draft stock's on the rise. Number 4, getting back to hyper athletic players that wowed us at the combine, Brian Thomas Jr. Again, we've talked about some wide receivers that were on that first round, second round cusp of the NFL draft. Now Brian Thomas Jr. cements himself as a first round pick in the NFL draft. Very curious where he ends up at the testing. He did all the things and stuff to help himself. Running a 4.3440. Look, I knew he was fast. Didn't know he was that fast. I pegged him with 4.4 speed, so happy to be wrong on that, as well as he tested fantastically in the vert and the broad jump. Both 87th percentile or higher marks in both of those testing metrics. Brian Thomas Jr., welcome cemented to the first round of the NFL draft. All right, moving on to number 3. We're getting into the top 3, and we're talking about the guys that our eyes are popping out of our skull when we're watching them test in Indy. Isaac Gendo, running back out of Louisville. If you haven't heard this name before, you're not alone. But after the combine, everybody's going to be talking about him. Could he be this year's Isaiah Pacheco? We shall see, but the testing holds up, baby. Running a 4.33 40-yard dash, coming away with a 9.9 RAS score last year. Also layering on top of this, amongst all running backs with at least 100 rushing attempts, he finished 14th in yards after contact per attempt, 18th in breakaway run rate. He is a player that, look, very curious if he goes on day 3 now after this crazy testing that he put up in Indy, but a player nonetheless that we are all surprised by. Georgia's own Ladd McConkey is number 2 on this list. A man who went out and ran a 4.39 40-yard dash. Good Lord. I was not expecting that. As a player that I think even the best of expectations, 4.440, I put him in the 4.5 range, walks away with an 8.8 RAS score. And if we go back to the analytics here, 8th in yards per route run last year, 34th in PFF receiving grade. I had questions about on his film. Could he take the top off of a defense? 4.3 speed, baby? You better believe he can. Ladd McConkey's walking away as the second highest combine surprise for this year's cycle. All right, number 1, guy we got to talk about. I mean, come on. Did you expect anybody else to top this list, considering the man that broke the 40-yard dash record? Xavier Worthy. Talented wide receiver, going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. I mean, shock, wow, surprise. Use whatever adjective you want to, because they all fit here, people. Xavier Worthy went out and crushed it. Broke the NFL Combine 40-yard dash, and anybody that throws out the John Ross comparisons, come on, please, you can miss me with all that. Xavier Worthy has route running chops for days. You add that type of nuance on that type of speed, and he is locked into the first round of the NFL draft. He surprised a lot of people, including myself, because I thought he had 4.3 speed, baby, but not 4.2. Woof. His stock is going through the roof. He is easily the biggest combine surprise of this entire cycle. All right, everyone, before I get up out of here, again, if you want a chance to win a 1-year premium subscription to Fantasy Pros, all you got to do is subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below in this video. That's it. We'll be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so turn on notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. NFL draft season is here, baby. Enjoy.